What goes on in a group is the macrocosmic equivalent of what goes on within individuals. Groups are just reflections of what's going on in each individual, because a group is just a collection of individuals, like cells to a body. I was thinking a couple days ago about how the criminal justice system, especially in the US, is a reflection of how we treat ourselves for the most part, how the majority of people treat themselves most of the time. So let's look at how the paradigm of the criminal justice system goes. It's basically based in judgment and punishment. Judgment and punishment. You know, you're convicted, you're labeled, and you are punished. While a better way of doing things, we're finding this out because the justice system in the US is a miserable failure, and we have packed prisons, and it makes people worse, essentially. The more beneficial way of doing things is to acknowledge it and to heal the individuals. So instead of judgment and punishment locking human beings in cages, which makes them worse because they're around other people that behave negatively. So that's how you get hardened criminals, and people have to put their defenses up more in those environments. So it makes people worse. The other paradigm is, first of all, accepting that they did it. So acknowledging that wrong was done. And this might be a little tangent, but I don't really agree with the system of laws that we have in place. You know, it basically should be, if you're not harming others, then, you know, it's all good. So crime should only be when you're causing harm to others. So yeah, but that's another tangent. So rules and bureaucracy and all that aside, the beneficial way of doing things is to focus on healing people instead of punishing people. So you would take people that cause harm to others and you would heal them. And there's so many different modalities for healing, so many different kinds of therapies and groups to get into that facilitate a process of healing instead of the paradigm of judgment and punishment. Because people only commit crimes, they only commit atrocities, they only hurt other people because they are hurt themselves. And what they are craving deep down, they're craving love. So inherently you have to give them love for it to heal. For the behavioral pattern to change, they need love. Punishment, judgment, it doesn't change it. Understand that people only hurt others because they are hurt themselves and they are desperately crying out for love. That's a profound revelation. So let's look at the way we treat ourselves, which is very, very, very similar, especially with negative aspects of ourselves or our shadow aspects. So a lot of the time, these things are either ignored or they are judged and punished. And the judgment and punishment also has to do with ignoring, like placing aspects of yourself hidden away, locked in a cage. You know? Can you see how it lines up? So let's say me, like I was afraid of any darkness within me. Let's say anger. A few years ago, I was afraid of my angry side. Anger arises. I'm not really an angry person, but I'm a human, and anger arises with me sometimes. But I would ignore that aspect, and if I would get angry, if it would come up, I would judge it and punish it. So it's like the equivalent of judging someone for their crime and locking them in a cage. And things only get worse when you do that. Criminals only get worse when you do that. The same thing goes for shadow aspects of ourselves. If you judge it and you stuff it down in your subconscious somewhere, it's going to bubble up, it's going to fester, and it will control you from the shadows, and it will create dysfunction. It will create disharmonies. It might create disease within the body. You can't ignore aspects of yourself that you don't like. You can't ignore the shadows. You have to meet every aspect of yourself with love and compassion. Just like how collectively we need to meet every human being with love and compassion. So if anger comes up within me, or anger comes up within you, acknowledge it and show compassion for it. Hold that place of love and compassion, and then it fades away. It's not ignoring it, it's not judging it and condemning it, but it's transmuting it essentially through love and compassion, and it needs to be acknowledged first for that to happen. Same thing goes for ego. All the aspects of the ego. You know, like, oh, I see you, ego. I see you judging there, or I see that self-criticism coming from the ego. Okay, that's what you do. You know, it's not, and this obviously, it has to be tailored and unique to every situation, because meeting things with love and compassion will look like different things relative to different shadow aspects of yourself, and they will look different at different times and according to various situations. So I can't give you specific examples for everything because the examples would be infinite, essentially. But that's really what it comes down to. It's acknowledging everything that's dysfunctional, although dysfunctional is a label. Everything just is, essentially. So it's acknowledging whatever is happening, because what's happening is real. You know, whether you want to label it positive or negative, dark or light or beneficial or not beneficial, whatever you want to label it, it just is. So accept what is in the moment, because that's the only thing that's real, and meet what is with love and compassion, and things go a lot better, whatever better means too, but it just works out better when you do it that way. If you meet things with love and compassion, you don't get the consequences of a prison population and all the dysfunction we see in society and all the dysfunction we see within individuals, if you get what I'm getting at. All right, so essentially meet everything with love and compassion. Do that within yourself. And then once we start doing that, and once a significant amount of people do that, the collective will express that same paradigm of meeting whatever happens in the outside society with love and compassion in order to heal those aspects of ourselves. Because essentially other people are just aspects of you as well. We're all reflections of each other. It's beautiful, right? Yeah, so that's all I got to say. Meet everything with love and compassion. That's it. All right, peace, peace, much love, and one love, baby.